a pastor, ordained for over 15 years, preaching grace, forgiveness, and moral leadership every Sunday. And then, she went to work for Jeffrey Epstein on his private island. Yeah, we need to talk about this. The Reverend Stephanie Remington is an ordained elder in the Missouri Conference of the United Methodist Church, one of the largest Protestant denominations in the United States. In 2018, she was looking to move back to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where she'd lived before. She needed work, and she found a job opening, administrative assistant for a wealthy employer, good salary, beachfront office, air conditioning. The employer? Jeffrey Epstein. Now here's where it gets complicated. And I want to be fair here, because fair is what this channel is about. She didn't take the job in ignorance, or she knew Epstein was a registered ex-offender. He had already served an 18-month sentence in 2008 after pleading guilty to soliciting prostitution, including from a minor. She knew that. And she took the job anyway. From August to December 2018, she worked as his administrative assistant. Then from January to May 2019, she was promoted to temporary property manager of his private island. His private island. She handled day-to-day operations, travel arrangements for guests, kitchen renovations, facility management. Her name appears in over 1,800 records in the Epstein files released by the Department of Justice. She left in May 2019 to care for her father, who was diagnosed with cancer. 2 months later, Epstein was arrested again, this time for ex-trafficking minors. And in August 2019, he was found dead in his jail cell. Fast forward to this week. A writer named Reverend Elizabeth Glass Turner, who has been digging through the Epstein files, found Remington's name appears more than 1,800 times in the Epstein files, tipped off the Missouri Conference. And the church acted quickly. Bishop Robert Farr suspended Remington from all clergy duties while an investigation is underway. The conference's statement was clear. Statement from the Missouri Conference of the United Methodist Church on active clergy suspension. This week, the Missouri Conference of the United Methodist Church became aware of a past working relationship between one of its ordained clergy and Jeffrey Epstein from 2018 to 2019. In accordance with 363.7 of the Book of Discipline, the individual has been placed on suspension while the Episcopal Office reviews the matter. Or in annual paperwork submitted to the Missouri Annual Conference, the individual represented that they were performing extension ministry through the Lewis Center for Church Leadership at Wesley Theological Seminary during those dates and as recently as 2025. Paragraphs 343 to 344 of the Book of Discipline outline the provisions of extension ministry appointments. In early review processes, Wesley Theological Seminary confirmed that the individual served as a part-time contractor in 2017 and 2018 and has not been employed by the seminary since that time. The Missouri Conference had no knowledge of the individual's association with Mr. Epstein. Clergy serving in extension ministry operate outside a local church appointment and report their ministry setting through annual paperwork submitted to the conference. No information indicating this association was disclosed in any of those reports. The bishop or district superintendent were not contacted about the individual's interest in or acceptance of the Epstein-related position. Pursuant to 363.7 of the Book of Discipline, Bishop Robert Farr, resident bishop of the Missouri Episcopal area, made the decision to suspend the clergy person from any clergy responsibilities for a period of 90 days beginning March 12, 2026, while the supervisory response process unfolds. This decision was made with the recommendation of the Executive Committee of the Missouri Conference Board of Ordained Ministry. The supervisory response process is set forth in 363 of the Book of Discipline. So the bishop shall conclude the supervisory response process with one of the options outlined in the Book of Discipline according to 363.5. The individual is aware of their suspension and has been provided with guidance on accessing counseling support should they wish to pursue it. Clergy are called to uphold the highest standards of spiritual and moral leadership. Concerns of this nature are taken seriously and require careful review. We recognize the deep harm connected to Mr. Epstein's crimes and remain in prayer for survivors who deserve healing and justice. Because this is an active matter, the Missouri Conference will not comment further while the supervisory response process is underway. The General Commission on the Status and Role of Women of the United Methodist Church is a valuable resource whose mandate includes ensuring that the church is a safe space where women and all people can grow spiritually and exercise leadership free from sensualization, discrimination, harassment, and SA. For support, resources, and guidance related to this matter, please contact their confidential, toll-free hotline at 1-800-523-8339. Oh, note, to ensure transparency throughout the Missouri Conference, all clergy persons have been notified about this matter via email, and the statement was shared in our Net News daily newsletter. They also brought in the United Methodist Commission on the Status and Role of Women, the agency that has led the denomination's work against sexual abuse and harassment for decades. Their executive director said, and I'm paraphrasing, "Survivors deserve more than acknowledgement. They deserve justice and accountability, even within the church." Strong words, and the right ones. But here's the other layer to this story. Because Remington isn't staying quiet. And honestly, her reasoning is genuinely theological. She told United Methodist News, and I quote, "Jesus got into a lot of trouble for the company he kept." She drew on the idea that Jesus ministered to the outcast, the criminal, the morally disqualified. She said if she withheld relationship from Epstein because of his past, she would be turning her back on every message of hope she'd ever preached. Now look, I hear that. There is a serious Christian tradition around grace, redemption, and not writing people off. But here's where I push back. There's a difference between ministering to someone and being employed by someone. There's a difference between offering grace to the broken and managing the logistics of their lifestyle, including travel arrangements for guests on a private island that the DOJ has now linked to over 1,000 victims. The question isn't whether Epstein deserved grace. The question is, what exactly were you facilitating? And the church has every right to ask that question. Loudly. There's also a procedural issue here that the church is taking seriously. Under United Methodist Church law, clergy and extension ministries, meaning those working outside a traditional church appointment, are required to file annual reports with their bishop and district superintendent. These reports exist precisely so the church can evaluate whether their clergy are living out their calling. Remington admits she went periods without filing any reports. She says she eventually told her district superintendent about the Epstein work on a Zoom call, but wasn't sure he fully understood. The Missouri Conference says they had no knowledge of her association with Epstein. None. So now she faces a formal complaint, not for a crime, but for failing to keep her conference informed. And honestly, that accountability structure exists for a reason, especially in a denomination that has fought hard and publicly to stand with survivors of SA. Here's where I land on this. No one is charging Stephanie Remington with a crime. She says she never witnessed SA, and her theological reasoning about grace and redemption isn't crazy. It's actually rooted in something real. But the optics matter, the accountability matters, and the victims matter most of all. The DOJ has identified over 1,000 victims of Epstein's trafficking operation. Over 1,000 people whose lives were devastated by the machine that kept his world running. And when you are part of keeping that world running, even in an administrative role, you don't just get to say, "I only handled the kitchen renovations." The church is doing the right thing by investigating. Full stop. And if there's a lesson here for all of us, ordained or not, it's this. The question is never just, is this person redeemable? The question is also, what am I enabling? Grace without accountability isn't grace. It's just cover. All right? That's the story. Let me know in the comments, where do you land on this? Is Remington's theological argument valid? Or does working for Epstein cross a line that no amount of grace talk can justify? Drop your thoughts below. Like the video if you found it valuable, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.